Welcome, part 3 on this series of teaching your horse good ground manners with this little yearling gelding named Dutton. And what I want to do, by the way, if you haven't seen the first 2 videos in the series, I hope you'll go back and watch those, because I think those are the foundational things like cluck means go, how to get your horse to lead, back up from the ground, those kinds of things. Today what I want to talk about is how to teach your horse to pick up their feet. And this horse is fairly good at it. He's not real good, but he's okay. And in the beginning, if you have, for example, that horse tied right behind me is a Mustang, it took me a long time to get him to be okay with picking up his feet. So in the beginning, if your horse isn't okay with it, the first thing you need to be able to do is just touch their legs. And so what I'll do, especially with a wild horse, is I'll just go like that far and then take it away. And then I'll go that far and take it away. I'll stand. I shouldn't be standing here. I wouldn't stand where the horse could strike me. I would do it from the side, okay? And I'd touch it, take it away, till we're eventually, and you can use a stick or something else if you think the horse is dangerous, where I could at least rub his legs. And that would be on all 4 legs. So I wouldn't try to do anything until I could rub the horse all the way down on all 4 legs. And that might take a while, depending on how goosey your horse is. This one was okay with it. He's been handled as a baby, so he's pretty much okay with it. Then, to pick up that horse's feet, you don't want to just reach down and grab it. A lot of people will go, yeah, like that. And how would you like it if someone reached down and just grabbed your ankle, like in a spook house or something? You wouldn't like it. So what I do is I start here, and I run my hand slowly down their leg. When I get to this Achilles tendon right there, I'll squeeze it and ask that horse to pick it up, and that usually works. If it doesn't, then I'll take my hoof pick or my Leatherman tool or whatever, and I will tap that horse right there on the cannon bone. Tap, tap, in rhythm. Tap, tap, and pretty soon they'll pick that up. Okay? Tap, tap. All right. And he did it anyway when I squeezed on it. All right. Then you want to hold it like this, and you should be able to pick it, clean it out. And that may take a while, and you need to be slow and patient. Now, sometimes I'll get a horse, and this black Mustang is a good example. He kind of got okay with it. I got him where he would let me do it, but he didn't like it. He just didn't like me picking up his feet. So what I would do is I'd reach down to pick up, especially his back foot, and he would let me pick it up, then he'd pull it away. Okay, let me see what Dutton will do here. There we go. That's pretty good. Good. This colt already knew that. So what I would do with this horse, I'd pick it up and he'd try to pull it away. So I'd just start backing him up. And I'd back him around the yard like this. Come on, back up. Because horses don't like to back up. It's a very submissive move. In fact, I did that, I think, with him this morning. And I backed him up for about 50 yards, and then I stopped and tried to pick that foot up again. That's his relief. So what you do is you make picking the foot up a release instead of a problem. And he's a pretty smart horse. Most Mustangs are. So he figured out he'd rather let me hold his foot than he would be backing up, running around the pen there. And so that usually works. And then eventually you'll get to where you can tap on that foot, tap on it like that, get him ready for the farrier and all that kind of stuff. Okay, next thing, teaching your horse to drop his head when you ask him to. This horse is going to be well over 16 hands when he finishes growing. And the young lady that owns him is about this tall, okay? So can you imagine her trying to put a bridle way up? It's not going to happen. So he needs to know this, and I've only worked on this a couple of times. What I'll do is I'll put my fingers, there's a bone right here on the top of their head. Sometimes that bone's called a knowledge bump. It's the top of their skull. And then there are muscles and ligaments right behind it, right here kind of between the bump and where his halter is. So I'm going to take my thumb and my middle finger and just push. Okay? And I've done this, I think, twice. There we go, and we got it. Okay? And the grass helps a little bit there. Let me get him off the grass so he's not trying to eat. Show you we're not cheating. Come over here, Dutton. Let's get him over here where there's no grass, okay? And what you have to do with this is this is where it's called reward the smallest change in the slightest try. Because in the beginning, a lot of horses will throw their head up, they'll shake their head, whatever. Just hold onto your lead rope there and just keep that pressure steady until that horse, until he drops his head just a little bit, and then you let it go. And then release and drop his head. So he's not very good. I've only worked on this twice. That wasn't bad. Right there. Drop your head. Right there. Drop your head. Right there. Okay. So he understands the concept. He'll need a little more work with it. But when you get ready to bridle this horse, then you'll be able to do it. And it's the same way if you go into the pen to halter him. Okay? Because he's going to get pretty big. You need to be able to walk up to this horse in a pen or in a stall, put your arm up here and say, drop your head, please, buddy, and then halter him. Okay? And then the last thing I'm going to show you is teaching your horse to stand tied, to be tied up and to be okay with it. And first of all, I'm going to ask my camera person to zoom in a little bit on this tie ring that's hanging right here. I absolutely love these things. I have half a dozen of them here around the stable. And if you're not going to spend, if you don't want to spend 30 bucks on the internet and buy one of these, you can kind of make your own, or you can do other things that have the similar concept. But the idea is when you put that rope through there and that horse pulls back, he's tied, but if he pulls back, it's going to slide. It has some friction and it'll slide a bit. And I've seen horses pull, if they pull hard enough, they can pull all the way through. Since I started using these, oh gosh, probably close to 20 years ago, I've not had a horse develop a pullback habit. Every horse will pull back a little in the beginning. They'll all do it. And so this thing works great to keep them from developing a pullback problem. And so then I'll just come in and maybe they pulled it back 2 or 3 feet. You know, something scared them and they backed up a little bit. And then I'll just come in here, pull it back up. Okay, like that. All right. Now, the next thing I'll do, which I haven't done with this colt, by the way, this will be the first time I've done it, is I'll usually do this with a 30-foot rope. While they're tied to that tie ring, I'll come up with that rope and tap them on the hip like this, ask them to move that hip over. And I figured he'd be okay with it. Okay. So he got a little nervous there. But what I want him to know is that if he moves, he's still tied up, like that, okay? And I'll do that 3 or 4 times to both sides while they're in the tie ring. So if he does pull back, he's not going to hurt himself. He's going to figure that out. And that's pretty good for the first time. And then people say, well, what do I do if my horse paws when he's tied up? I don't do anything. I just go in the house, have lunch. And if I come back at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, he's still pawing, then I go in the house and have supper. That's, you know, the reason a horse is pawing is he's just telling you he's impatient, he doesn't like this, and he wants to be doing something else. Okay? And I guess it's kind of like when your kid says he doesn't want to do his homework. You know, you'll be all right, do it. And so the vast majority of horses, 99%, if you'll just leave them there and go do something else, eventually they'll quit pawing. And if I had one that was really bad, what I would do is kind of keep an eye on him out of the corner of my eye, and when he stopped pawing, I'd go over and turn him loose. And then tomorrow I'd tie him up and he'd paw some more and I'd watch him, and as soon as he stopped pawing, then I'd go turn him loose. Give him a reward for not pawing. But most of them will just quit on their own if you just, you know, leave them there, and they'll get tired after a while. Now, eventually, you should be able to tie your horse solid. And this colt is broke enough now. He doesn't pull back. He gives the pressure pretty good. So I've tied him solid, and I'm okay with it. In fact, so is this Mustang. In the beginning, he pulled back horribly. And he pulled he pulled back sometimes 20 feet through that tie ring. And now I can tie him solid, and he's fine. He understands that he's tied solid and he's okay with it. So I hope that helps you. Ground manners that every horse, no matter how old, no matter the breed, doesn't matter. Every horse needs to know these basic things.